Good afternoon, y'all. It's Jen again. Um, this is going to be my second video. I tried to push the computer back a little bit so that you guys aren't like all up in my grill because my kids said that that wasn't okay. Anyway, so I hope I'm doing a little bit better. Today I was trying to figure out what we should start on with the second video. And so I wanted to talk a little bit more about basic needs. I know I discussed a little bit about basic needs and Maslow's hierarchy yesterday, on where I kind of work in that model of looking at physiological needs and also looking at safety needs when it comes to Maslow's hierarchy. And so when I coin the term basic needs, and when I'm talking to clients about basic needs, I always identify basic needs as food, hygiene, shelter, not necessarily housing, but housing could kind of mix up in that. Mental health care, if that's something that they need, and also medical health care, if that's something that they identify. So those are the five ones that we talk about. We also include things like ID and income and things like that. But really, those five basic are the first things that we talk about. So in looking at that, I thought that where we would start would be food. Going and looking at how to help those that are experiencing homelessness connect to food. Now, obviously, there's food pantries. I cannot say enough about food pantries. Some of my favorite food pantries would be Catholic Charities. They have an office in Overland Park, Lenexa area, off of 87th Street, as well as in Olathe, off of Poplar in Woodland. And so, again, food pantries are really, really important. There's also many churches throughout Johnson County who offer food pantries. And my plan is in the future to put a resource list out that will kind of break down where all those are and what their hours of operations are now with COVID going on. So, also, can't help but mention Salvation Army has a great food pantry as well. Um, and they are in Olathe, right across the street from the Catholic Charities there in Olathe. And so, again, food pantries are something that I always share. I always provide a resource list with food pantries, the hours of operation, and things like that, because it's really important that food stamps are not always going to go through, provide someone enough food for the whole month. So they need to supplement. And also, food pantries are not going to always be able to provide enough. So, supplementing with food stamps is really, really important. And using several different food pantries is really, really important during the month. And most of them do allow people to use each one of them. So they're not like restrictions on if you use Catholic Charities, you can't use Salvation Army for the month. So again, they really do work really well in partnership so that we're making sure people have access to food. So talking about that, we're going to go ahead. I mentioned it and talked about food stamps. Okay. So food stamps are known as SNAP, like SNAP, right? SNAP benefits. And so you'll hear people say food stamps, you'll hear people say SNAP. It's the same thing. Um, in Kansas, SNAP benefits are monitored by Department of Children and Family Services, so DCF, right? And that is actually where you will apply for food stamps with your client. Pre-COVID, you could go in and fill out an application and sit in their office for like an hour and get everything done the same day. With COVID, you can no longer do that. Most applications actually have to be completed. You can mail them in, but the best route is just to go through the online process. There are little quirks that we have to work through with the online process, but that is the DCF method of request, is that we do work with our clients to do the online option. So I always tell people, case managers, help your folks fill out the application. They might have some questions. They might need some internet access. Even with COVID and us not doing face to face, it's not uncommon for me to call someone up on the phone, or make an appointment with them if I am doing a face to face, and just have my computer right there. If we're doing it over the phone, then a lot of times I'll do a Zoom meeting and have the food stamp application pulled up at the same time, and we're doing it together. So if there is any questions, we can just go ahead and cover it together. Okay. So there's different steps in the process of getting food stamps. Food stamps, for some reason, is really difficult for people to navigate through. A lot of times, what we do as case managers, unfortunately, is we help them with the application process and then we leave them on their own. And we fail to realize that there is more to the process than just the online application. So today, we're going to talk about that because a lot of our folks get clogged in the system and they never receive their food stamps. And we're over here going, why don't you have your food stamps yet? And it's because, like, hey, let's be honest with you, we didn't help them through the whole process. So today I'm going to explain to you what the whole process is and making sure that we're properly helping people. Okay, so I am going to switch this. I'm going to share my screen and let's see if I can find what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for. Okay, this is actually what I'm looking for right here. So this is the website on how to apply for benefits. You can see right here it says benefits. So with this, you can scroll down with your client again using Zoom and share screen where you're actually doing the application, but you have your client there with you is really, really helpful. So that if you're not having those face-to-face meetings, you can still help your client get food stamps. Again, you can still help your client get food stamps. I'm not sure why I'm having to say that, but you would just be surprised. So, scrolling down right over here, there you'll see that there's two pieces. Okay, so this page, I should say, actually covers if you're applying for CanCare, which is Medicaid. Also, if you are applying for food stamps. So the first, you want to always click on the first hyperlink because this is the one you want to go to. Okay, to this assessment. It's going to scroll you in, and then you'll know you're on the right one because you'll see this cute kid in the middle. This is my indicator that if I see the application portal with the cute kid in the middle, that I'm in the right place. I'm actually in the food assistance place. So you're going to go here, you're going to apply for assistance, and then this is where you can log in. If your client already has a username and password that they remember, then you can definitely use that. If not, then you can make a new account. I want to stress that sometimes, with our client situation, they're transient, they've got a lot of stuff going on. They might not remember their, password and their or their username and password. Do not let that delay this, especially when it comes to getting them food. If all else fails, just go ahead and start the process over. In the end, on the back end, DCF will be able to connect through their social security number and get those accounts all into one. But again, you don't want to tell someone because they can't figure out or remember what their username or password is or what the email address that they use to set up the food stamps a year ago, a month ago, 6 months ago, it doesn't even matter, that, you can't get them food stamps. Just go ahead and start the process again. So I go here. Of course, you're going to fill out this information right here. Just because of the fact that right now DCF is working on a lot of food stamp applications, I would normally try to walk through this whole process with y'all, but I'm not going to because I just don't need to clog up their system with another frivolous application because I don't have a client here with me right now to go ahead and complete this. So we're going to stop here as far as moving forward on screens, and I'm just going to kind of explain what you're going to see. After this portion right here, you save and you continue. The next piece is that you have to set up a username and a password. As a case manager, I tend to have a set kind of like username and password based upon a person's name, date of birth, their personal identifying information that I will prompt them to use or something close to that, just so that in the future, if we run into a situation where they have lost their password or their username, I can help assist like with recalling what it might be without having to start a new account. So again, it's entirely up to you guys how you guys set that up, but get all that information, set that account up, and then you're going to go through the application piece. The application piece is just asking questions and answering. I mean, it's just asking questions, you're answering questions. I think the areas where our clients get a little bit unsure is when they are reporting income and reporting household numbers. So household numbers does not necessarily mean how many people are living in the household, okay? Because we have a lot of situations where someone might be, for instance, living in a shelter, right? So not everyone who is living in a shelter with them is considered part of the household. Even if they're couch surfing, the people that they're living in the household or the house with or that residence is not necessarily a part of their household. So household is really determined on who is the food benefits that are going to be received, going to be used to feed kind of thing. So for instance, if I'm a mother with two children, those children are my dependents, I'm going to include those children as my household. But if I am a single person living in maybe a house where I'm sleeping on the couch or whatever, roommates, you know, the likelihood our bills are separate and I'm responsible for my bills. Even if we're sharing rent, when I start to report um, expenses, I'll report my portion of the rent. I won't report the whole rent as a whole because, I'm not going to report their portion because we're in different households, even if we're sharing the same residence. So if you guys have any questions about that, how that works, just go ahead and if I need to make that clear, just send me an email, shoot me a comment after this video, and I will provide some additional information. But again, recognizing household is important because you don't want your client to be slighted on how much they receive because they're adding in someone who doesn't need to be added. But in the same regard, you don't want to miss someone either that does need to be added into the household. So again, household questions come up a lot. Another thing is, again, reporting the income. It's important to report income. DCF has access to the Social Security Administration to see what Social Security has been paid out on people and things like that. Not SSI, but actual, like when they have to pay into their Social Security benefits. So you don't want to report that someone doesn't have any income when maybe even they're just working temp services. So, find out. Most of the time I ask, what have you worked in the last 30 days? 30 days is a good measurement to determine, what to report. Also making sure that you're reporting expenses correctly. So you can report medical expenses, you can report utilities, and that also includes a phone. So even if our folks are homeless and they're not paying any like gas or electric bills, they may be paying for a phone. So it's important to include that as well. Any sort of prescriptions, things like that, include that. Obviously, there's an equation method that's used with food stamps. They determine what you're eligible based upon what it is viewed that you aren't able to provide on your own. So if your client reports making so much income and then reports no expenses, the obvious question is going to be, why can't your client just use the money that they make to pay for food, right? So again, you want to make sure that if you are putting expenses in, or I'm sorry, income in, that you need to be also reporting the expenses as well. Okay. So that's one of the other things. Another issue that sometimes we look into, and I'm not going to get into a lot of detail on this one, I'll do a separate video because it can get a little hairy at times, will be if you are working with a client that's a registered sex offender that's had a sex offense after the year, I do believe it is 1996, or I'm sorry, not 1996, 2006. Or if you have a client who has received any sort of drug felony conviction in the last 3 to 5 years, that can get a little bit difficult on getting them approved due to some federal laws that are in place. Also, if they owe any sort of child support, because DCF can pull the child support system as well. So again, I'm going to do separate videos on all of those. I've dealt with those situations and kind of had to work through them. So I'm happy to share that information with y'all, but it's a lot of information. So we're going to skip that. for right now. If you do have a client that you're working with right now that is working through that barrier and you need that information sooner than later, again, send me an email, send me a text, whatever you need, and I can give you that detail one-on-one prior to getting the video posted. Okay, so where we're at, complete the application. Again, this is the online piece. Make sure that you're reporting expenses correctly. Make sure you're reporting income correctly. Um, all that good stuff, answering the questions truthfully. And then it gets to the point, there's a portion of the application that will talk about certified representatives. There's actually two pieces. One of them says, like, has someone helped you with that application? You can go ahead and fill that out as a helping agency. That's just data that they want to collect. But then there's also a place that talks about certified representative. I will, in most cases, always request that my client allow me to be named as a certified representative on their food stamp case. That can be pulled by them at any time. But the reason why we do that is because that allows me to make changes on their case. That allows me to call on their behalf for their case if anything comes up. That also allows me to complete the phone interview, which is a huge piece that, and this is the phone interview is the portion that actually causes people to not get food stamps the most. So we're going to go talk about that in a minute. But again, by being that certified representative, there is a box that you can click that states, I'm not accessing this card. I don't want to access the benefits. I don't need a card I don't need an extra card. So at no way am I stating by being a certified representative that I can use the benefits. But what I'm saying is that I can be able to act on their behalf or make, like I said, take calls for them and things like that. Why I do that with most of my clients is because most of my clients do not have a phone or they have a Wi-Fi phone. So after the application piece happens, the next step will be a phone interview. That has to happen. If the phone interview does not happen, your client does not get food stamps. If DCF calls a phone that doesn't work, your client is not getting food stamps, plain and simple. So again, putting yourself down as a certified representative and putting your phone number as the main contact number if your client does not have a either has a phone or not a Wi-Fi phone that's not a good quality phone that they're going to be able to, get phone calls at any point in time from, then you need to go ahead and use your phone number so that you're getting the call. Now, I know I'm all over the place. This is important. So we're still on, and we talked about the phone piece for a minute, but we're going to back up to the actual application piece online. So again, you're putting your information as the certified person. You're putting your phone number as the main contact information. If your individual does not have an address, as a case manager, you likely work for an agency that has an office. Find out what your agency's policy is about using your office as a place for an address for them, because an address does have to be on file. When you apply for them, they can be named as homeless. I do suggest that you do put homeless as their street address. But when it comes to their mailing address, where they get mail, you actually need to put a place for them to actually get the mail. And I never recommend someone using like a friend of a friend or anything like that, because there's been too many times where food stamp cards go missing when we do that. So trying to locate a good address is really important. I will do a total new video on that at a later date about addresses, or again, send me a text if you need something sooner than the video comes out. So again, as a case manager, I always like to use my address for my office, and I always like to use my phone with the plan that I was likely going to get the mail so that I can make sure my client gets it, and also that I was going to take the phone call to complete the phone interview. At the very last part of the online application, there is a place for you to submit documentation. Pay attention to that. You can actually upload documentation. It is easier to upload it into this application than it is to try to go and get it to DCF later on, especially since the office is closed. So in that uploadable area, I always try to upload some sort of identification for the client, even if they do not have an ID. If they've got anything that has their name on it, if it's a copy of their social security card, a copy of their birth certificate, if they're on probation or parole, a certificate of ID, anything, school ID, something that may have their name. And if it has a picture on it, great. If not, then that's fine. But something that has their name on it. Um, so it meets that identification verification piece. And then I also put any sort of their bills. So where we talked about making sure we report expenses and income, if they have a pay stub for the last 30 days, then I will go ahead and upload that into the system so that it's one less thing that DCF has to come back and ask for later on that could hold up getting food stamps for your client, right? So if they are paying a phone bill, put a phone bill in there. Whatever, like I said, it just makes sense. Whatever documentation you can provide to help, move the case along, that's what you want to do. The last piece of documentation that I always upload will be my actual work badge. So I've always just scanned my work badge, put a copy of it, a PDF copy on my desktop of my computer, and it is always scanned into the client's account so that once, I get the call to do the phone interview, I verify who I am. They see that I'm certified representative, and then I also show them that I've uploaded my badge, again, just to verify that I'm from a helping agency so everything goes smoother. So once you get all those things, push submit, get that application in. At that point, you have an online portal for DCF for that client, which you can go in and access. You will have a mailbox there where where updates will be received. Any notifications that are mailed out to the client will also be received in the message box or the mailbox on that account. So those are things to kind of keep an eye on. But again, you'll also get things in the mail. What should come in the next, 2 to 3 days will be a letter that states the next step of the process is to complete a phone interview. This is where the phone interview comes in. A lot of times our clients get the mail and we don't even know that they had a phone interview or that they didn't complete the phone interview. So I like to tell my clients, if you get anything from DCF, it's your mail, keep your mail, but snap a picture of it and text it to me so that I can just see if there is something else that we need to do on your behalf, especially if this is something where the client has their own phone and they're going to be taking care of the phone interview on their own, and it's not going to be something that I'm anticipating to do. But again, that will come in the mail. If, for instance, it'll tell you what day to call and do the phone interview. If you miss the phone interview date, that's fine. They can call. They can still call. They can call up to 30 days after the application was submitted to get that phone interview done. The reason why we tend to like to, get the call when they call is because it avoids us having to call back and spend that like hour and a half on DCF like phone line, because if you're going to call DCF, just be prepared to wait for an hour and a half to get someone on the phone. So again, if you can get that phone call ahead of time, or if they tell you they're going to call at a certain time or a certain day, and you can be prepared and get that call, great. But if not, then your client or with your assistance is going to have to make the dreaded DCF call and sit on hold. But either which way, if you are a certified representative, you can take that call. Pay attention for it. So again, that phone interview, get that phone interview. Through that phone interview, people will ask what's going to happen on the phone interview. I promise they are literally going to go question by question of the online interview that you already completed or the online application. I don't know what the point is, but it's their policy, so we just go with it. But that's why I tell people, like case managers, if you helped your client with the online application, then the phone interview is going to be a piece of cake because it's the same exact questions. But you go through the phone interview. After the phone interview, usually the phone interview lasts about 45 minutes. Doesn't really need to take that long, but it does. So 45 minutes, be prepared. And then at that time, the DCF representative will be able to tell you if there's any other documentation they need. Hopefully you've already uploaded all of it, but if not, they'll let you know what you need and you need to get that to them. Best way to get that to them is by email, and I will post the email address for the Overland Park office, which is where most of our clients will go through. Um, Later on in a Facebook post after I post this video, I will submit that email address or include that email address so where you can send your clients updates to if they do require anything else. If not, they're going to tell you your client's approved and they're going to tell you how much it's for. Okay. Phone interview part's done. So again, we've done the online application and we've done the phone interview. Okay. Those two pieces have to get done. The next step, say that you've gotten everything turned in that you need to, everything's good to go. The next step that's going to happen is you're going to get, or your client's going to get two pieces of mail, or you're going to get two pieces of mail for them. One of them will be a letter. It's either going to be from Iowa or Texas, and it's going to actually include the EBT card, which is the actual food stamp card where the benefits are put onto. Okay, those only can be used for food stamps or for food. You know, it's they say non-cooked food. There's a lot of things at QT that you can buy too, but again, they're going to get that card. They get that card, they open up that card. That card is not going to be from DCF, so just let them know it's going to be from some contract company that DCF uses, but they'll get that card, open it up. You know, the number to access it will be on the back. They'll have to verify who they are through social, date of birth, set up a PIN. They'll find out what their balance is. If they don't have a balance on the card as of yet, then they will receive one. Okay. Or they can check within the next couple days and a deposit will be being made. So, and then every month after that, a deposit will be made. With DCF, deposits are made within the first to the sixth day. So, day one to day six, it's all based upon your last name. So, if your individual is expecting to get their money and their name starts with a W like mine, they're likely not going to get their money or their food stamp credit until the sixth. Don't start worrying about it until the 7th or the 8th. Okay. Um, so that's going to be the first piece of mail. The second piece of mail is the piece of mail that everybody always throws away, which you don't want to do. It is the actual approval letter from DCF. So that one will be from DCF telling you that you've been approved for food stamps. So even though you've already been told on the phone, this is a letter that states you've been approved. And how much you're approved for. A lot of people will throw it away. It's not the card. They already know they're approved, so they don't know what the point is. They'll throw it away. I always tell clients to never throw that piece of paper away, that approval letter. If they don't want to keep it, snap a picture, they can text it or whatever to me. But I always like to have a copy of that approval letter because it has the case number on it. An individual's case number never changes. So in the future, we might need that case number for something. Also, that's the letter that can be used to get someone approved for a free phone. So you can be approved for a free phone if you've been approved for food stamps. So again, I tell people to not lose that letter or do not throw it away because it's just as important. So other than that, it should take about a week and a half to get through the food stamp process. If for some reason you're getting onto the second week and your client has not received their food stamps, then something has clogged up the system. Either most of the time the phone interview didn't get done, but if you did the phone interview and you're not sure what happened, then and you've turned everything in that you were supposed to turn in, or the client's turned everything in, then unfortunately you're going to have to at that point make that dreaded DCF call. Again, I tell everybody to be prepared to wait about an hour and a half. If it takes less time, great, you're having a wonderful day. But if not, plan for an hour and a half. A lot of times what I'll do with my clients is I'll just get on the phone with them if we're not having a face-to-face meeting. I like the clients to learn this process. So if I can, I like to get on the phone with them and we do it together on a merged call. And sometimes we just sit on hold for an hour and a half. I do work while they do whatever, and I just tell them to pay attention. So when someone answers the phone, we can do whatever we need to get done. And it's good role modeling because they can hear me having these conversations and they know what, to say the next time. But if for some reason your client doesn't have a phone, remember you are a certified representative, so you can make that call on your own. And I've had a lot of case managers say, well, if I'm making that call, I'm enabling someone. Okay, y'all, I get it, but it's not enabling if they don't have a phone or have the ability. We need to remember that we've got to look at what the client is capable of doing before we start measuring what is considered enabling or not. Okay, so if this is a basic need, which food is, you can turn around and say, okay, if I'm helping someone get food and they're not able to do it on their own, then let's just get it done. Shouldn't be that hard of an argument for yourself. But again, I say that because I've had a lot of people try to have that discussion with me, and I haven't changed my mind on it yet. Um, Again, food is food, and people need food. We should help people get food. So that is my DCF lesson on how to get through the process. Um, Again, I think that food is super important. DCF is very difficult to work through, especially when you don't have a good mailing address or you don't have an adequate phone. So I just encourage all of you guys to be willing to help folks get food. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Definitely reach out to me and we will go through whatever we need to go through to discuss this any. Okay. That one was a long one, but food stamps is important. So I appreciate you guys. Thanks.